thing that we're trying to do is develop a shared analysis of what the concept of a green economy means. I think there's a real danger that this term has political momentum at the moment, but that can very quickly dissipate. If there's no roots behind it, if there's no real clear understanding of the implications of the term, the buzzword that can cover a multitude of different activities, then it very quickly becomes discredited. So we want collectively we're working on a shared analysis of what that term means and how it can best be applied, that we hope will then be picked up by others and actually give the term a much more resonance and depth than I fear it has at the moment. The second critical activity we're engaged in is listening to understand what's already happening in a diversity of different contexts around the world. So we're looking to set up a series of national dialogues to explore what the concept of a green economy means within those countries. Also, what's happening that would fall under that label that might not be seen in that way by people within the country. What are some of the constraints that at national level are experienced, very much along the lines that Martin was talking about, where there's a hugely unsustainable framework imposed on a country that they can do very little about. It needs to be understood and challenged. We're looking to set those processes up with a host organisation in the country that has a detailed understanding of the political context, of the actors involved, of the relations to other policy debates going on within the country, so that this is situated primarily as a process that delivers key conclusions, ideas nationally. The input to an international process is of secondary importance, and for most of the people taking part, I think it would be very much a footnote. Ashok's organisation in India are leading on the first of these dialogues, and from my understanding that's going to have a particular focus on what some of the constraints are at the moment to investment in green technology, green job creation, environmentally sound activities that have the potential to create huge numbers of sustainable, rewarding jobs, but in ways that currently aren't getting investment. So what are the barriers to that investment and how can that be tackled? And that's an issue that's of significance for India. So the way it's framed, the dialogue process as a whole, picks up on an issue that actually has resonance within the country, as well as generating conclusions that feed up to a higher level. In addition to those national dialogue processes that we're planning, we're also saying there are many issues which are thematic in nature, where globally we're grappling with tensions implicit in the term green economy that need to be brought out and thought through in a way that mirrors the nature of the coalition. It's broad-based, it recognises the input from different sectors, but there's also a recognition of the need to change from where we are now. So some of those would be the whole concept of green jobs. What does that mean in practice? What are some of the factors which are critical if we are to deliver sustainable, rewarding livelihoods, job people in specific contexts? How can that be done, and what are some of the key challenges that need to be worked through in doing that? Okay, let's pick it up a bit. There are a range of other dialogues of a similar nature on themes which need to be brought out and worked through because none of us have clear solutions. The third element that, again, is relevant to the summit, and I think it was mentioned before, is a roadmap. If we set out where we want to end up, and I think many of the speakers here have highlighted some of the critical concepts that should underpin a green economy, how do we get from where we are now to there? What are some of the key steps that we can plot from that take us in the right direction? And then how can we invest sufficient effort in getting there? What will it need? What will it take for us to move in the right direction, having established a map? And the fourth element that we're working on is a collation of glimpses of a green economy in practice. What can we see already which brings some life and some clarity to what's a fairly nebulous concept? So we're looking to pull together practical examples of a green economy in practice that demonstrate what's possible and also challenge us to think about how to scale up those effective activities, think about how to remove constraints in other contexts for similar initiatives to take root. So that notion of a picture of a green economy in practice is a critical element. And I think finally, a reflection for the summit. There's a real danger in these kinds of global events to have a voluminous shopping list of issues, and we end up with a completely unprioritized A to Z of every issue under the sun. There is a real challenge for this summit to find a way to identify what are the much more limited key drivers of unsustainability that can only be tackled at global level. What are some of the things on which no one country can move unilaterally because they'll then immediately be disadvantaged in comparison with other countries? What are some of the areas where it's necessary to establish global standards that can be enforced, that have rigor at global level? And I don't think it's realistic for a summit to do that across the board if we're able to find 3 or 4 that emerge from this process of identifying at national level what some of the barriers to progress are, that respond to some of the key opportunities for change. I think that might in itself give us a much clearer sense of what a summit can usefully achieve, with that ambition that this process over the next 2 years is actually transformational, rather than an incremental, how do we make very slight progress from where we are now, building on the conference of 20 years ago. I think we do